Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live on the Alternate Current Radio Network and also at 21stCenturyWire.com. Thank you for rejoining us. We're also streaming out live on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, X on both of our accounts on X, as well as Facebook Live on our fan page on Facebook. We're just actually starting to get some traction. It seems like Facebook's loosening up their censorship protocols and allowing for normal political speech a little bit, not quite, but it's nothing like it was 10 years ago when there was you could actually do stuff on that platform. But it is interesting. It's changing slightly, so we'll keep an eye on that situation as well. And hopefully we're going to bring onto the stage both Hesher and Ruckus. Also, Basil Valentine is joining us as well from the beautiful levels of Somerset. We'll bring him up onto the stage as well. Gentlemen, let's see. We'll bring Basil on first, actually. Basil and Ruckus, bring you guys up on stage. Great to see you. Mr. Valentine, beautiful day in Somerset, as usual, with the magical tour behind you.
Yeah, nice and cold here. Winter's still very much with us, Patrick. We've still got a month to go till the Cheltenham Festival, and we can genuinely say that spring is here. But, wow, what a time. Europe in an absolute tailspin after J.D. Vance's speech. And I believe that the initial meetings between the United States and their Russian counterparts are beginning tomorrow, which is what has prompted Emmanuel Macron to call this emergency summit in Paris of European leaders, bolstered by the presence of the NATO Secretary General and the Eurocrats, Kaja Kallas and Ursula von der Leyen. Trump is reported today to have said about the initial contact, it will be just me and Putin. We will not invite representatives of Europe. There will be no war for me. And if Europe has a problem with that, then let Russia defeat it on its own without American participation. Why don't I want the EU there? Because their representatives need to go to war. They need a long-term conflict to cover up their incompetence, their lobbies, and their stolen money. I already classify the EU as a third world country, but it is a little better off. No one dictates anything to them. I will not negotiate with anyone who wants to prolong the conflict. I will not negotiate with anyone who will send more weapons. I will not negotiate with anyone who will try to get any more ammunition initiatives. I will not negotiate with anyone who will try to prolong the conflict. I will negotiate the peace, which is obviously a very censored word in the EU. So Trump continuing to double down, and the Europeans are just, they don't know what's hit them. This is a whirlwind. They were expecting a change of tone, but this is a complete 180.
Yes, indeed. So, Basil, there's a little bit of confusion amongst the Trump team. I saw Kellogg's cornflake up there at Munich as well. General Kellogg, I call him Captain Crunch. That's the nickname we're giving him. So he basically is telegraphing that, we're talking about to the Russians about their relationships with North Korea, China, and Iran, and that's part of the Ukraine negotiations. I personally don't believe that. And if it was, why would he be telegraphing that in the media? Because that's obviously going to put the Russians up the wrong way. And is this Trump's strategy, Basil, or is this slight disorganization with all these kind of newbies that don't have any diplomatic experience, let's face it, between them? What do you think?
Well, I mean, they're making it up as they go along, so to speak, but, it's a completely different style of administration, as well as, different tone and different policies. Things are happening so fast. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago that he got into the White House, and, within a few days of Vance's speech, suddenly there are going to be high-level Russian and American delegations meeting, and, that's why Macron has called this emergency conference. So they're moving with enormous speed, which has wrong-footed all the diplomats and the hand-wringers, who, if there was to be a peace conference, maybe we'd have it in 2 months' time or something, or try and change the facts in the ground. continue to bolster Ukraine in the meantime. None of that's happening. It's that he's like, chop, chop, this war's coming to an end, and it's coming to an end very, very soon. And for that, you've got to applaud him.
So what do you guys think? Because we've been watching this conflict now for 3 years, and we've been kind of right about everything as it has been unfolding. The mainstream media, the rhinos, Democrats, Republicans have been wrong about everything. And so we've kind of been listening to the Moscow media a lot, and they've been right about all the stuff that the U.S. is now admitting. So they're kind of behind, aren't they? I mean, to play catch up on this, it's like you're going to take a few months of very meticulous studying to get to the point where you can talk to the Russians across the table, because they're not going to go for the sound bites and the bullshit. They have lost plenty of men and sacrificed tremendous amounts, been sanctioned to high heaven more than any country in history. So like they've already basically been beaten and got up again and have dusted themselves off and are now touting 3% economic growth when Europe is touting 0. So do you think the Trump administration, you guys, is I honestly don't, I'm not hearing enough substantial diplomatic language coming yet. It's almost like they're still trying to find their footing. I would think that they would be. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it does feel that way. Like Ruckus was saying, we were told this is something that could be accomplished basically overnight. And, expectations are high right now because there is a lot going on. You can't even, it's basically impossible for one to even keep up with all the EOs and appearances and everything going on. So people are expecting a lot right now. Expectations are high. And, if you really want this to stop, those would be what Basil outlined would be the things you'd be talking about. So this whole idea of, shifting more money to European countries, them being responsible for more bullets and nerfed Leopard tanks and whatever they want to send them, it basically all just the spigot needs to be shut off at this point.
Ruckus, what do you think? Is this credible negotiations from Trump yet? Have they gotten into anything substantial? How long is this going to drag on?
Well, I have it on good authority, and by that I mean Alex Jones with this breaking news that Trump sat down somewhere in one of his office settings, and he suggested, Trump did, that is, that Trump, as an individual human being, just one man on the planet out of how many billions, what he would like to see is that we cut down our nuclear stockpiles by 50%, and not just America, but also Russia and China. And he said that he would like to see that happen. So Alex Jones ran with that and said it's going to happen. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and praised Trump. And thank God for Elon Musk, because we are the media now. So I don't see any diplomacy. I also don't see any war. What's with these long protracted wars? It is now 2025. Don't you think by now, if we're going to have some sort of conflict going on with all of the advanced technology and weaponry we have, somebody's going to win one of these wars eventually? It shouldn't take 3 years at this point. So clearly it's just part of the forever wars agenda. So I'm not impressed by any of this.
Apparently Trump didn't just say he wants to cut nuclear weapons by 50%, or that he wants China and Russia to follow suit. He wants to cut all Pentagon spending by 50%.
Defense spending.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it's been floated. I mean, nobody even floated. The only person talking that kind of language in the run-up to the presidential election is somebody like Jill Stein, of course. So, whether or not it comes to pass, and we should all be rightly skeptical. So, the military-industrial complex and the Raytheons and Lockheed Martins of this world are very, very deeply embedded in Washington. Washington is arguably a war economy these days. The United States really doesn't manufacture very much of anything that it exports, except for weaponry. But as a sentiment, I mean, all right-thinking people should want to see that kind of huge reduction in weaponry that was touted under Khrushchev and Kennedy. And then again, there was a mirage of it with Reagan, Gorbachev. So if Trump is to sort of finally commit himself to that path. It goes along with the whole Doge, we've got to cut the $34 trillion deficit philosophy. But with amongst the executive orders, he sacked all the people looking after United States' nuclear stockpile, apparently. The people who actually sort of make sure that the things don't go off accidentally. He had no idea what they did as a job. So, the pen has been crossing out entire departments for a fortnight.
Delete, as Elon says. So,
Right.
So did cutting 50 for so he's saying cut 50% of defense spending, but the week before he said we need to raise defense spending.
That's right.
By 200.
It's the Reagan posture, isn't it? Even that we will achieve disarmament through strength. So build it up in order to scare everybody else into reducing. Well, I mean, that's the theory, but you're right.
Let me tell you, like, would you trust the United States if in a three-way agreement between Russia and China that the U.S. would actually cut spending by 50% of their whole Pentagon, which is 1.2 trillion in real spending after overruns each year, that they would cut that down to 600 billion in the year? Or just show some accounting trick like Elon will wave a spreadsheet. Look, we've done it. Now China, you cut in half, and Russia, you cut in half. I mean, is the U.S. really trustworthy? I mean, I think they're so delusional to even float such an idea. That would take years to build up that kind of trust, where you'd be in that kind of arms reduction relationship. And Trump thinks he can just it's kind of weird. Like you mentioned, Ruckus mentioned another media outlet, how that some passing comment while Trump is shaving in the morning makes it as the headline. And it kind of reminds me of like a cult where, the Rajneesh Bhagwan or Osho, people would follow him around with a tape recorder in case he said something. And then as soon as he said something, they would distribute it, it's, wow, did you hear what he said this morning, while he was, filing his toenails. So it's kind of like this cult thing with some of the media and Trump, and we're defeating the globalists. And I support all positive actions and policies. I do. But my job is not to be a member of a cheerleading squad. Okay. Our job is not to put on lipstick and hold pom-poms and jump up and down and go rah, rah, rah. Okay. I support all the good stuff, but we have been burned so many times by false heroes, saviors, and fake prophets. Enough that it is our job to hold leadership and politicians accountable for the promises they made to get our vote in the first place. It's as simple as that. Democrat, Republican, or whatever. So I've gotten a lot of heat for not being positive enough about Elon in the last couple of weeks, and I am so tired of it at this point. So, and it's worse. The people, Basil, the people who are the most cultish and pro-Trump and get totally upset if you criticize Trump or Elon are British. The British online MAGA brigade. They're more ensconced in the culture of U.S. politics than the Americans are, and some Europeans as well. It's like Trump is kind of a global president to certain factions.
Yeah, no. At this point, he is. He's absolutely steamrolling everybody in his way. I mean, I'm pleased to see these initiatives vis-a-vis the war in Ukraine, obviously because we all want to see the killing stop, but also because it's completely upended the European bureaucrat oligarchy. And you've got children like Kaja Kallas, the Estonian former prime minister, who's now the high representatives for foreign policy, all running around screaming and exposing what, hawks they always have been, and warmongers. So it's great for that, I must admit. At the same time, we've had the repulsive spectacle of Marco Rubio and Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. Really, really disgraceful scenes as always. So you have to take the rough with the smooth with this lot.
Yeah, on the Rubio front, I'll bring that up shortly, but I'm glad you brought that because I do want to segue to Rubio and Netanyahu. So what Marco Rubio, it was only a matter of time. People need to understand Rubio's whole career he basically owes it to the Israeli lobby. And that's not like Paul Singer and all the rest of them. It's not a big secret. Everybody knows it. Everyone, anyway, who follows politics knows it. So he's saying that the greatest source of instability is not Israel, but is Iran. And so he's given this zinger of a speech. Let me pull this up, and then
I mean, it might as well have been written by Netanyahu himself. There's no that you can't get a cigarette paper between their positions, you know.
And Netanyahu, we'll bring him up too, because I have to play BB's latest. So this is all synchronized, and I'll tell you guys why in a moment. But here's Marco Rubio. That's what he has to say here.
The common theme in all of these challenges is Iran. It is the single greatest source of instability in the region. Behind every terrorist group, behind every act of violence, behind every destabilizing activity, behind everything that threatens peace and stability for the millions of people who call this region home, is Iran. And by Iran, I mean the Ayatollahs. By Iran, I mean its regime. A regime who, by the way, its people don't support. The people of Iran are victims of that regime. And so I think it's important to constantly point that whether we talk about Hamas or we talk about Hezbollah or we talk about violence in the West Bank or we talk about destabilization in Syria or we talk about any of these issues, the militias in Iraq, they all have behind them one common theme: Iran. And that's stressed. And there can never be a nuclear Iran. A nuclear Iran that could then hold itself immune from pressure.
So there it is, guys.
Who knew Iran is behind the violent settlers in the West Bank? He said so there. He referenced the violence in the West Bank. So I guess all those invaders, they're secretly Muslims. They're not actually Jewish at all. How extraordinary.
So they have nothing. Iran has nothing to do with the West Bank. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So what on earth is he, this guy, talking about?
I mean, I must admit, he's such a disappointing choice. I mean, first of all, for the, unbelievably, lowest common denominator, below lowest common denominator level of analysis, but also what a pathetic individual as well, 5'3", 7.5 stone, wet through, weak voice, no gravitas, no nothing. I mean, sorry,
no gravitas. I know he's no Basil Valentine. I'll tell you that right now. He definitely doesn't have the gravitas of our Basil. Towering at 6'3", a formidable rival to Trump himself. Mr. Valentine, who's got a pretty good golf swing as well. I've seen it. I've been there. I've witnessed it. Look, Rubio is. What do you guys think? Where's the multipolarism? So these people drift this stuff out and then they retract it after a week. I am really I'm going to go all out on Rubio. Because
the speech, as I say, might as well have been written by Netanyahu, and the word on the street is that Israel wants to attack Iran and drag the United States into the war, and a speech like that is paving the way for it. Amongst the things the Americans are going to seek to do in Riyadh tomorrow in the negotiations with Russia over Ukraine is try and weaken Russia's ties to China, but also to Iran. Of course, they've become quite pally, and Iran is joining the BRICS. So they want to drive a wedge in there. The Russians, for their part, want to see a lifting of some, at least, of the sanctions.
Okay, so comments on Rubio, Hesher, and Ruckus.
Well, how did he get this job? I think we know the answer to that question. That seems to be pretty obvious. And are we supposed to have forgotten what Vladimir Putin said just a few months ago when he was talking about where the red lines are? And they weren't just in Ukraine, they weren't just to do with Russia, they were to do with blocs and alliances and things like that. So He didn't name any specific countries, but we would be remiss if we didn't think about the fact that Iran might be one of those countries. So, and we're talking about, so it's like on the one side, this administration is telling us, well, we want to cut the DoD budget by half and we want to stop these conflicts, right? And we're going to start conversations with people. But out of the other side of their mouth, they're dispatching Rubio to go out there and use the same old Lindsey Graham and John McCain talking points about Iran with like no concern that, that might actually be, this old, tired, conservative war hawk talking point of propaganda might actually be counterproductive to the overall message that this administration is trying to send. And then you combine that with the whole, daily terror / daily shooter sort of seeds that JD Vance is planting. And for me, all I can do is just say, well, okay, so I guess we're waiting around for more cyber trucks to explode, more Green Berets to have a mental flip, more, ideologically and ethnically ambiguous people to do, strange things that only the media will be able to tell us about. We'll never have any facts on it, just a bunch of classified, redacted documents that they can, the FBI can hide in a box to pull out 70 years later for some other president when it's like, hey, I'm going to disclose what happened, in the event that led up to our war with Iran or something like that. It's contradictory. It doesn't make sense. And this is an old propaganda, pro-Israel talking point that needs to just be let go from this country if we're truly going to keep stroking the head of mainstream conservatives and America Firsters. It's got to go. It doesn't fit in, although many of those people are late to understanding that themselves. So that's why it's still there, I imagine.
That's why it's important to know where the war on terror came from. Who authored the war on terror policy? It was authored by Benjamin Netanyahu himself in the book he published in the mid-90s. And he went and browbeat our Congress into adopting this policy. And here he is, still leading the charge. Ruckus, your thoughts on Rubio? Are you as sold on Rubio as high on Rubio as Basil Valentine is?
No, I'm much more of a fan of the Lindsey Graham, to be honest with you. But he would say the exact same kind of thing. Of course, he's busy kissing Zelensky's ass right now. Listen, Hesher, you're forgetting the fact that they don't, like, the government, the media, the traditional media cannot come out and label, like, say, a false flag event and say, oh, look, Iran did it, because nobody's going to believe them. But luckily, they don't have to do that anymore, because now we have X, and we have the former CIA ops and Green Berets running around doing the circuits.
Yes. Yep. Ruckus. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah. So it's like with the media, and he's not lying. It's just the same old media. It's just been repackaged so that people will trust it, because they learned their lesson by now. They're like, we can't come out and tell the people what we want them to believe, because no one believes our lies anymore, because we keep shooting ourselves in the foot and getting depantsed in front of everyone, and we're the laughing stock now. So they did this misinformation, disinformation thing. They did the censoring thing, and then they gave X to Elon Musk, and then he uncensored people and said, hey, look, we're on your side. You can trust us. So I think we're in a much more dangerous situation now for them to get away with a false flag event. And it's so digitized and so online now, and so deep faked of a world that they don't even have to do a real false flag anymore. They could literally show a picture from a movie, label it Alex Jones or Elon Musk, and Mario goes and posts it, cat turd reposts it, whatever. And it's like, it's a fact. When we got to go to war now, people, they don't even have to declare a war. We can get it to the point where the people are literally demanding on X that we go to war. Elon Musk will make a poll. Should we nuke Iran? Yes, yes, or hell yes. You know what I mean? So it's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, or should I pay child support to this latest? Oh wait, no, sorry, we'll get to that in a moment. But speak of the devil, sorry, I mean literally Ruckus. I did not tell him to cue that, but that's exactly who is shilling for this war, and this is not our favorite person in the world, and so he's got an agenda, folks. And here he goes. Look who is shilling for war, and Mario, of course, has never seen a war that he doesn't like, and he is happy to shill on behalf of Elon and the military industrial complex here, saying, fantastic, what a great idea. Let's listen to this. I'll give you my comment, and I'll tell you where this is coming from.
Israel and America stand shoulder to shoulder in countering the threat of Iran. We agree that the Ayatollahs must not have nuclear weapons. And we also agree that Iran's aggression in the region has to be rolled back. Over the last 16 months, Israel has dealt a mighty blow to Iran's terror axis. Under the strong leadership of President Trump, and with your unflinching support, I have no doubt that we can and will finish the job. Israel and America.
Okay, so what I noticed about this, guys, just my quick 2 cents, and I'll go to you, Basil, first. But what I noticed about this is the report is that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. There's been no intelligence presented to show that they do have nuclear weapons. But so this is happening. And then what I see happening on the same day of Tulsi Gabbard getting sworn in to the U.S. Senate. So note what Netanyahu says here. And this is what goes front page of the Washington Post the same time as Tulsi Gabbard is getting sworn in. We see this. We see this. U.S. intelligence assessment. Israel likely to strike Iran in the coming months. According to a new intelligence assessment, Israel is planning a preemptive strike against Iran's nuclear program. Okay, and it will set them back weeks or months. So they're basically saying Israel is going to do this. It's not going to deter the Iranians. They're setting up a talking point here that the U.S. needs to come on board with Israel. And what's missing here, you guys? And we scroll down looking for details. Washington Post report I've serialized here. There's no evidence or intelligence of an actual nuclear weapons program.
Of course not.
So the leak is that Israel says they're going to strike Iran's nuclear program, but no evidence that Iran has a nuclear program. How fishy is this? Okay, so this brings us to the issue of Tulsi Gabbard. And so Tulsi Gabbard is sworn in, and I'm thinking to myself, why is she given this job? Why is she, and why is on the same day she's sworn in, this story comes out, and she has not commented on it? They've just drifted it out. So this is clearly an agenda that's been pre-planned. I personally am skeptical of Tulsi Gabbard's appointment. I think she has been put in by the Israeli lobby to give the green light to Trump to strike Iran. That's what I think, because she did a hard pivot to become pro-war after October 7th and shed a lot of her supporters for backing. She ended up backing Israel's genocide, okay, as the, quote, anti-war leader. So she's the perfect person to sell a war that might be unpopular with half the country. Just like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the perfect person to sell a vaccine for bird flu or Project Stargate that might be unpopular to half of the country. The establishment are wicked, folks, and this is how they operate. Basil, what do you think about Netanyahu's latest?
Well, I had to mute the computer while he was talking there because if I actually hear his voice, it brings me out in an allergic reaction. But we know what he's saying, and as your story on 21st Century Wire has confirmed, they are planning a strike. Gabbard, well, what's she doing there? Is the idea to try and sort of make American involvement in an attack on Iran look more acceptable? She's still being attacked from the right. Extraordinary when you think that, I would say the right, when you think that 52 Republican senators voted to confirm her as Director of National Intelligence and 48 Democrats voted against her. It was only a few years ago she was running for the Democratic nomination. Somebody say during the week, actually, the Democrats won the November 2024 election because Trump, Robert Kennedy, and Tulsi Gabbard are all old-style Democrats. But we'll leave that there for the moment. But maybe she's supposed to put a pretty face on an upcoming war with Iran. But an awful lot of the so-called deep state article in The Atlantic I've referenced here still saying she can't be trusted because she went against the Assad gas attack narrative. And of course, you go against any of these false flags and you're a heretic, you know, and also attacking her because she refused to condemn Edward Snowden. Yes, she appears to have become more of an avowed Zionist since October the 7th. That's a prerequisite for getting any senior job in Washington for the time being. You know, we can only hope that wiser heads prevail. I don't think Trump, for all you know, his bluster, I don't think he wants to get drawn into a war with Iran, but the others around him, you know, a bit keener.
No, 100%. And this is a big concern I have, guys. This is happening way too fast. So we're all watching the bouncing ball in Ukraine. And as that gets wound down, well, God forbid, we cannot have a period in America where there's not a war going on. God forbid. It would just be terrible. Need to start a war with Iran now. And there's Rubio, Secretary of State, shilling for backing up this Baby Ruth bar that's been drifted into the swimming pool this week of a intelligence assessment that Israel's just going to go ahead and do it. They're hitting Iran's nuclear program. Hesher, no evidence of any nuclear program.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but what may happen is that we have another sort of series of limited strikes which do superficial damage to Iran's nuclear program. The Iranians don't retaliate in any major scale, and the whole thing kind of goes away, and Israeli bloodlust is satisfied, at least for a short while. You know, if you ask me to have a bet on what the most likely scenario is, that might be it.
But if Iran retaliates,
we're in a different. But we got very, very close to a major war a few months ago, if you remember.
They will retaliate. If Israel does that, it's certain Iran will retaliate.
Well, true, but then we heard lots of talk before Israel went into Lebanon that Hezbollah was going to retaliate in a major way, that it had all these weapons that could strike deep into the heart of Israel. And, you know, in the end, you know, disappointing to say it, but their response was pretty limited.
Well, Iran pelted Israel twice, once in April and the other in October, and they smashed up a couple of their military bases. They could take Ben Gurion Airport out. That's like the only exit for like most Israelis. They could easily take out that airport. So they could take out, they've taken out a U.S. base in Iraq and under Trump, and Trump didn't respond. So Iran has already given the U.S. a bloody nose. So all I'm saying, guys, is this is extremely dangerous. And Israel seems to be pulling the Trump administration like a dog, like pulling the leash on a dog. And I find it to be highly...
Absolutely. It is extremely dangerous. I concur. But I hope the worst is not going to come to pass.
You know, the other problem is during the Senate hearings, you guys, you pay attention. Tulsi was like, WMDs in Iraq, forever wars. These are great talking points. Who's going to disagree with that? But she didn't say the important bit. Where did that bad intelligence come from? Came from our allies. 2, Israel and Britain. Yellow cake uranium from Britain, Niger uranium, yellow cake, all that business. Joe Wilson, Valerie Plame. That was all a smokescreen to cover up the fact that basically we were fed bad intel because we were wavering on the Iraq war. Britain was there to kick us into touch with some bad intel. Israel stovepiping fake intel into the U.S. So if they stovepipe Iranian threats, like domestic terror threats in America, Tulsi Gabbard is the one that will tell the president in the briefing whether it's a credible threat or not. She's the one. So this is why I'm extremely worried about her close relationship with the Israeli lobby and Fox News, etc., and then her being put in a position where, quite frankly, I would have said I would think she would make a better Secretary of State or a better UN ambassador.
Well, she might get one of those jobs further down the line. You know, hopefully, you know, Trump wasn't averse to moving the deck chairs around in his first administration. I mean, if you look back, someone like Rex Tillerson, his first Secretary of State, you know, absolute model of, you know, professionalism and discretion and diplomacy compared to people that have come since. So, maybe Rubio won't be in the job for very long. I sincerely hope so. But, on the basis that my enemy's enemy is my friend, the dreadful Nikki Haley was very quick to attack Gabbard because she opposed ending the Iran nuclear deal. She opposed sanctions on Iran. So, she's not about it. Haley would have been worse.
But that was then. That was then. Tulsi's different now. Tulsi is Israel to the hilt. Israel to the hilt. And I think that's a very dangerous person to have as DNI while they're floating out this attack on Iran scenario. Hesher and Ruckus, go ahead and weigh in.
Well,
Ruckus.
I mean, the way Bibi said it, he said he was implying that all of these things are possible now only thanks to Trump. Like as though Israel's success is completely predominant on who's the sitting president. That's a joke to me. So I don't know. You guys are all making excellent points. I can't really add to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Hesher, if you got any thoughts on this.
Aren't there like 20 NATO bases, U.S. and British bases surrounding Iran? Is it not similar to Russia, where they're just, NATO military bases basically completely encircling it? Are we to really believe that there's a nuclear program there and there's no evidence of it with all those assets surrounding that country? And what happens, right? Like, what happens if Israel strikes Iran, or we do it at their behest? You know what I mean? It turns into a very predictable mess for everyone. There's nothing good that can happen from it. And like, if we were to just stop this Iranian propaganda campaign, this campaign against people in the West to believe that Iran is behind, everything that's awful everywhere. I mean, would anything bad happen? I mean, I would argue probably not. I don't think anything would change if we just dropped this and went for a more peaceful stance. But, what do I know?
Yeah. So, I mean, when she was confirmed, that was a big sort of question mark I had was, what she's untested. She's not an intelligence veteran. She doesn't have a huge sort of career behind her. She's new. She is very clearly she's switched parties. She's on a career path. She wants to belong to, the new MAGA camp. There's a lot of pressure on her. And I always say, is like RFK backpedaled on all his vaccine positions. He said 2 years ago, he tweeted, we don't need a bird flu vaccine for a disease that doesn't exist. And when pressured by his Senate, he said, I won't stand in the way. I'm going to back a bird flu vaccine. So a little bit of pressure and he caved to the big pharma lobby. So with a little bit of pressure, these people are so quick to cave. And it really scares me because you saw when the pressure was on Trump on COVID, he went all full on jihad on warp speed. And he was like, we need to get the vaccines out, forget the testing, forget the regulation. It's all about big pharma and the vaccines. And that turned out to be what? A disaster, didn't it? So we need people in office that aren't going to buckle to political or lobby pressure or the establishment pressure. That's what you need. You need someone who's going to push back because attacking Iran, this has huge implications. And once you start going down that road, where is it going to stop? That's my big concern. So when I see Tulsi, I was not cheering because it's like, to me, that's as ridiculous as cheering for Kamala because she's, the first black female president, just because of her gender and because of her race or whatever. If I was on the left, just like cheering for Tulsi, let's see what you do. I mean, I'm so past this point of being a cheerleader, and this hopium is just too much. If she stops the war, then great. We're gonna have a celebration, and I'm glad to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, guys. But my job is not to cheerlead. It is to be wrong. Actually, it is. I'm so waiting to be wrong on this. I hope I'm wrong. Please give me as much abuse as humanly possible if I'm wrong on this, because that's what I want. That's the result I want. I want to be wrong and get abuse for it, because then we're safe. But
Right.
your Hesher, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to be proven wrong about that. I want to read what actually Neil said in our Discord. He says, controversial opinion. Different factions of the Western military-industrial complex are at war with each other. Some want war with Iran to save Israel at all costs. Some want to defeat Russia-China axis at all costs. And others want war with both. I think that's probably a piece of nuance that we are dealing with here, sort of this, the internal battle of the management factions. And that's where the Republican Party has gotten really skilled in the last couple years. I think they saw what they were up against in 2020, obviously, and leading up to 2020. And then the 2022 midterm elections, there was supposed to be this big red wave, and it completely did not happen. And I think over that 4-year period, the Trump team and the Republican Party did a lot of scrambling to figure out how to rebrand America, how to rebrand conservatism, how to rebrand the RNC to an extent, and rebrand a lot of these former Democrat voters, to include Elon and Tulsi and so many of the people that were up there at the inauguration and in there right now, doing their part, whatever you consider that is. So, yeah, it's I don't think these desires by the various management factions are going anywhere. Put it that way.
Yeah. So listen, I'm definitely skeptic, definitely blackpilling on this. And she was backing Bernie Sanders, who's basically a communist. Now she's MAGA in a very short space of time. Fair enough. You're allowed to have changing parties. I change parties. We all do it. But it's like what people are willing to do to get into power and stay into power. And I know that they maybe think I can change it from the inside, but the stakes are incredibly high. And it seems to me, and this is a controversial position. Okay. I said this last night on the X space, Ruckus, with the Israeli lobby, total contributions to Trump, Mary Madelson and all the rest, 250 million roughly. That's $250 million. Elon Musk and the funds that he bundled, roughly $250 million, $250 million. Together, Musk and the Israeli lobby, $500 million. What is the price of getting a seat in the White House and turning it into a co-working space? It's $250 million. That's the price. Me as an American, I don't like that. I don't like anybody being able to put down, or any group being able to put down that kind of money and buying themselves a position in government. I have a problem with this, and as great as I love to see USAID taken to the cleaners, happy to see it. I support that effort, okay? But I do not like billionaires and the richest people in the world buying their way into government, because there is a huge potential for them accumulating such power, especially in the age of technology. Imagine all the data that Elon Musk has got his hands on, all the back doors, everything, people, all the data in the country fueling into Palantir and whatever else the PayPal mafia are up to. And he bought his way in. He wasn't elected. He wasn't elected. Trump was elected. This Elon thing was meant to be a side hustle, and now I'm not sure who's running what, but it's a lot of power that's being accumulated. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this.
And what's their expected return on their investment? Because it can't ultimately just be the Iran thing. Obviously, you have the Israeli lobby, but again, as I said, that was going to go down whether it was a Republican or a Democrat. That's always been a thing. There's some new thing that's about to change. There is definitely a shift that is about to happen. And I'm thinking back to what Trump was talking about, cutting the military budget in half, because I had said that wrong. I'd said about the nukes, but maybe there is a way for them to be more efficient with their spending on the military defense without reducing our military defense, because we do have the technology. And who in particular has their grubby little fingers in that pie? It's all of the people that Trump has basically surrounded himself via the PayPal mafia and the Peter Thiel connection and Palantir. So I think ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're witnessing, we just don't know what the ultimate answer is. That we're right in the middle of the thing, the problem, the reaction, and now we got to wait for the solution. And the solution is going to be very tech heavy. And I think that these people are going to make a killing. I think the military industrial complex is shifting to a technology industrial complex. We've moved past big pharma now. We're moving into a new thing here. And I think that as far as Iran goes, I don't see that happening. I see under Trump us ramping, like pulling back from those things and instead focusing now on the China-Taiwan thing. And that could happen overnight. Like the whole thing could just change tomorrow. You know what I mean? So.
Well, looks like that could be the case, but Iran is definitely the one that is hot on the burner right now. Basil, go ahead if you have any thoughts on this.
Well, things have been upended, haven't they? Europe is absolutely running for cover. John Major, speaking today, said that he thought democracy was in danger because of Trump's new position. I welcome the fact that the pieces on the board are in motion at last. For too long, these security conferences have just been backslapping exercises, everybody heading in the same direction. Rubio Netanyahu business is utterly repulsive. Rubio actually had the cheek to say that the Middle East would be a safer place if there were more countries like Israel. I mean, he's not living on the same planet as the rest of us, But in general, I would say that, February 2025 is a more hopeful month than February 2024.
So I'm with you on that for sure, Basil. So Hesher, in addition to the tech bros, we also have this chap, Palmer Luckey, who sold his VR firm to, I think, Mark Zuckerberg. And all of a sudden, he becomes the sort of new defense guru. It's kind of a strange-looking character in that he has an epic mullet. So, but this is like the #1 sort of military-industrial complex guy at the moment. And so he's the guy. And so he's right up there kind of, it's got this big factory. He's kind of a Musk kind of serial CEO type guy. And he's like the most sort of dominant person right now on the scene, new kind of emerging star on the scene of the military industrial complex, Palmer Luckey. And I think it's interesting. I mean, he seems like a little bit of Mr. Slapdash. There he is there. Incredible mullet. And the goatee and all that. So Hawaiian shirts. I mean, this is the new look, Hesher, of the military industrial. This is the acceptable look of the military industrial complex. That's the way I'm reading this. What do you think?
Yeah, this is an interesting one there. I remember when he sold that to Zuckerberg, I was pretty critical about that. That was quite a while ago now, but I was keenly interested in it because in a previous life, I was working on a master's degree in modeling virtual environments and simulations. So I was very keen to understand the state of VR. And this is the guy that made Oculus, right? So yeah. Oculus was one of the first, for me at least, one of the first noteworthy crowd-funded pieces of technology, and it was geared toward gamers, okay, which is what I was at the time. So for me, it was really exciting to see sort of a crowd-funded you know, something that seemed like a startup in the space of virtual reality. To me, that was a huge win. That was a great sign for technology and for freedom. And he used to talk all about how it was going to be built on an open source model. You know what I mean? There was a lot of attractive things, and a lot of people out there, gamers and other people, put money into the development of Oculus, and he promised he would not sell them out. But Mark Zuckerberg came along with a huge, bag of money, and he did exactly that. He sold it out. And if Mark Zuckerberg is truly what some people suspect he is, which is a deep state technocrat asset, there's room for speculation that there was more than just the money that was exchanged hands for that technology to be moved over to then Facebook, now Meta. And you won't find, I might be wrong about this, someone can check me, but I don't think you'll find any consumer grade or high grade VR backbones on GitHub or other places where you can do open source development. So the fact that he's taken over a $22 billion government contract now, it raises some red flags. And as far as his aesthetics, you mentioned his look. I think what we're seeing is a rebranding of, not just people like Tulsi and others. I think we're seeing a like a longer term strategy of rebranding that is to do with authoritarian technocracy, or maybe just technocracy if you're less black-pilled than I am, because the people that represent, like when you go to the average person under, I don't know, 50 or 40 or something like that, and you quiz them about who politicians are, what politicians look like, they'll say, well, they're really old, I can't relate to them. Many of them are 80. They seem to be talking in through a lens that doesn't make sense to me. Like, we're seeing the end of the old era of politics right now. We're seeing the end of the old era of technology, even though it still seems pretty fresh to a lot of us. And what we're not gonna be able to be governed by octogenarian, people that have never used a computer. Okay, and that's what a lot of politicians are. They're old people that have never used a computer, that pretend they know what AI is and pretend they know what social media is, and in reality, they're completely unrelatable. So we're gonna need characters like this. We're gonna need Palmer Luckies and Elon Musks, and heck, we can even throw in an octogenarian like Larry Ellison, because he looks like Mickey Rourke. He doesn't necessarily look like Mitch McConnell or something like that, but the days of senile Mitch McConnell style politicians, Nancy Pelosi style politicians, that's not going to fly. That is never going to fly with the people that are now the main voting bloc moving into the next epoch of, into the 21st century, into the age of artificial intelligence. They're not going to be able to sell us this type of transhumanist authoritarianism without characters like this guy and others. So, this is why these people are being front and center. This is why they're front and center. All these people probably have long-term political narratives that they're branding themselves on right now, and none of them are going to go away. None of them are going to go away if the population doesn't figure out that technocracy is coming, and that the old guard is doing everything in their power to make sure that they stay in power as the new technological era arrives.
That's the key, staying in power. Yeah, totally a new facelift on this, and it's gone sort of that Friday office attire in politics, and definitely social media driven, X driven, so you can see how this whole thing is taking shape. Consensus building done on social media, almost like the fake democracy is kind of in the making. It's like, oh, well, it was trending on X and got like a load of likes there and lots of views. So we're going to go with that, because that's kind of like how Trump picks his cabinet. Like who's the most influential on social media? Who's on Fox the most? That's my guy. Tammy Bruce is chief negotiator. It's like, wow.
And it's like, oh, he's got a mullet or a bunch of tattoos on his face. That's okay. Or he's got 50 kids out of wedlock with 10 wives. That's okay. You know, I'm a new conservative. So like I have all these liberal, loopholes. Like I'm not going to live my life that way. And I certainly don't want my kids to live their life that way. But my heroes live their life that way. And that's totally cool by me. You know what I mean? Like the amount of exceptions one has to make for this clown car of technocrats is jaw dropping.
I am Dark MAGA. I am Dark MAGA. So it's so comical. I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, I'm just crossing my fingers and hope that it's not too bad of a disaster and hopefully some good things happen and they don't blow up the world in the next 6 months. But look, we're going to wrap up this program. Appreciate you guys. Went a little bit overtime today, but actually before we go, I'll go to Hesher and Ruckus first. Thank you again, you guys. Thank you, Ruckus, for last night for co-hosting that epic space. Hesher, give us a shout out to our viewers here on the platforms about the Boiler Room, where we can find this program and anything else that's coming up.
All right, Boiler Room is our roundtable current events discussion that we have every Thursday night here at Alternate Current Radio. We'd love to see it in the chats. We're out there streaming live on Rumble, YouTube, Rockfin. We had been streaming on X, but I lost my blue check mark for now. So we'll be back on X when I get that back. And that's Thursday nights at some point after 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'd love to see you for the live show. If you missed any live shows or you want to check it out, go to our website, alternatecurrentradio.com. We've got support links up there if you want to support us, buy a t-shirt, whatever, buy Ruckus a coffee. We got all that for you. Sunday Wire archives up there, alternatecurrentradio.com. Thanks for having me, Patrick. Sorry I missed the space last night. You guys did an awesome job, and I'll look forward to what this week has to hold.
Yeah, well, you can listen to the audio when you're out trimming the hedges or walking the beasts around the neighborhood, terrorizing your neighbors. So Ruckus, Daily Ruckus, what's happening with your show?
Well, as I've mentioned before, just because it says it's daily doesn't mean the show is daily, so I get them out when I can. I will have a new one as soon as possible. I don't want to set a date on it. I'm intending today or tomorrow. However, tomorrow on Monday, there's going to be a lot of ruckus happening elsewhere. I'm actually going to be joining the fantastic Basil Valentine over at The Pulse, formerly known as Today's News Talk, so TNT, thepulse.today. I'll be on his show for a little while tomorrow, so make sure you tune into that. And then tomorrow evening, first for me, I'm going to actually be co-hosting Weaponized News with Sam Chaney. That's his program, Sam Chaney. Very much looking forward to that. So that's where you'll find me doing ruckus stuff outside of my own program. But my next episode that I'm working on, just so you know, it's really an epic kind of thing. Not nearly as epic as that X Space we did, which was almost 5 hours. That was crazy. But my next episode is actually going to be 12 mini episodes inside of one giant program to wrap up my 12 Days of Ruckus series that I was doing. It's called 12 Bummers Coming. So I'm making 12 shocking predictions about what to expect in the very near future. And I'm treating each segment as if it was its own individual program and rolling it all into one giant, huge thing. So I don't know when that'll be out available. Safe bet is that you can come visit alternatecurrentradio.com by Tuesday, and you'll definitely see it up there by then, because knowing me, it'll probably come out very late, either tonight or Monday. So in the meantime, you can always find me over there with Hesher on Boiler Room. And thanks for having me do the thing. And thanks for having me tomorrow, Basil. Looking forward to that.
Basil Valentine, what's happening with you?
Yeah, well, we're back, I'm glad to say, at the Pulse today. I do an hour's interview and analysis starting 7 p.m. Central European time, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. And then after an hour, I'm joined by my cohort, Pelly Niroth-Taylor, for a three-way go with an additional guest. So I'm on our now Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. And Adam is one of my guests tomorrow. We're thrilled to be back. So do go over. You can watch live for free at thepulse.today.
Yeah, you gotta put it up on screen here. Hopefully we get to, see if we can angle that. But there it is, thepulse.today. Basil Valentine, obviously one of the greatest political minds of our generation. And he's...
I'm pleased to say that I think all of us might be back there, touch wood, at some point before the end of the year, shall we say? Who knows?
Okay. Well, in the meantime, there's stuff happening there. It's positive. It's good content, great analysis. Obviously, Basil is there, so you know that that's pretty much a lock with regards to the political conversation.
I've got, as well as Adam, I've got Dirk Polman joining me tomorrow, who's particularly intelligent and thoughtful analyst of German politics. We'll be looking, of course, at the upcoming elections. I've just seen a map which shows the country divided along the lines of the old border, with East Germany voting AfD and the West voting almost completely CSU. So I'll be talking about that to Dirk, and of course the fallout from Munich and the negotiations getting underway tomorrow in Riyadh.
Yes. Munich, not the terrorist attack, not the Olympics, but the security conference. But Basil Valentine, thepulse.today, just go check that out. You can see thepulse.today. That's the URL. Basil will be on there bright and early tomorrow. And so looking forward to that. We'll be chiming in, hopefully, to also talk to Basil on that program, hopefully at some point this week, with any luck.
Yes. And yes, certainly. You're very welcome.
So thank you, gentlemen, for a epic Sunday Wire. I think we managed to put the world almost to rights, but not quite, but pretty darn close. So quite an effort, gentlemen. Our audience very much appreciates the AI, the four minds coming together to form a powerful AI here on the Alternate Current Radio. We can outperform ChatGPT at the moment, so we're still ahead. We're still ahead of the AI. We can still do things that the AI can't. Not every show can claim such things, though. As you know. Thank you, guys. Take care, and I will see you all soon. Thank you. And that's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you very much for joining us on the Sunday Wire this week. We have hopefully something very interesting on the Midweek Wire. In fact, we will have a different guest this week on the Midweek Wire, which will be live streaming here on Wednesday on all of our usual channels. Amazing conversation last week with Freddie Ponton and Mats Nilsson on Whiskey on the Rocks. And that historic event. Unbelievable conversation. I think very important historical report. Very proud to be able to bring that to you. And congratulations to Mats and Freddie for just doing an incredible job on that. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic episode 535 of this weekly Omnibus News and Analysis radio program. Again, brought to you here on ACR. Really great to have you with us. It's been great. Baltic cruising on the Love Boat. That's what was happening in Munich this week. And this will be Zelensky's final cruise, they tell us. So where he will end up next, Miami, Tuscany, London, Washington, D.C., maybe Hollywood, perhaps Switzerland. Nobody quite knows. But he definitely will not be president of Ukraine for very much longer. So things will get extremely interesting there. Look, that's all we got time for. Take care, you guys. And thank you again. All the best. We'll see you soon. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, we are running our winter fundraising drive. We're in the final stretch here. If you like what we do, if you like the content that we're producing, we need your help. We need your support going forward. So this is our winter fundraising drive. This is how we fund the operation for the next 12 months. And you can also take out a monthly membership at 21wire.tv. Just go to the donate or support button, the top of my X account. There's a donate button there under my profile, or go to 21stcenturywire.com. You'll see the donate button in the upper left-hand corner on the menu, and you can get us there and help us any way you can. Any way you can support us, it is absolutely greatly appreciated. It'll put to good use. As you can see, we're expanding our content offering, and we have a lot more content in the pipeline, which we are also working on. So in addition to the new midweek wire, we'll be starting a talk show. This will be sort of a professionally filmed chat show, and that will be coming out. That will be for subscribers only initially. So we'll be airing the first, I think, probably 5 episodes of that in the next couple of weeks. You'll start to see the first installments of that. So again, you have to subscribe to 21wire.tv to see those full-length episodes. So that'll be something exciting. We're just still working on the graphics and everything, so it's taken a lot longer than expected. And of course, this whole project got delayed this year because of extenuating circumstances involving myself. But we seem to be getting our footing again, thanks to your help, thanks to your support. And again, thank you every one of you who have donated and helped to support us, as well as the crypto donations. Amazing. We got a couple of Bitcoin donations, as well as a Litecoin and some of the other things that we can accept on our website. So it all goes to good use. We have a great team of part-time and volunteers, and we'll probably be getting a sub-editor soon for written content. So all of these things take resources, and we really need your support. So if you want to subscribe and become a member and help us out on a regular basis for a very, very low cost, it's greatly appreciated. But we're growing. We've been around since 2009. So that'll give you some indication that this is not a flash in the pan operation, and we have some great independent journalism and reports on our site. It's a great resource archive, and you'll have, obviously, the whole public has access to that going forward in the future. But as far as the new content, that's all coming online, and we really appreciate your support helping us make all that happen. So big thank you to everybody again. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. It's been an amazing week. Have a great week. We'll see you midweek. So take care. All the best, everybody.
Brothers and sisters, we're being divided. Don't believe what they say. Hold on to your soul. Everyone divided in an echo chamber hole, saying that the enemy doesn't have a soul. Listening to media, tell them what to think.
supervise contact. They watch our every move. They examine our togetherness like we've got something to prove. I've looked behind your eyes. I've seen the sadness you hide. I've looked into your eyes. I've seen the tears that you've cried. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. In the legal arena, upset theaters are staged. She moves in circles. Her cruel games cause delays. From the questions you ask me, like why can't you come home tonight? From the moment you hold me, it's the shortest hour of my life. No, I won't get used to these chains. I wanna tell you what I'm feeling. I wanna tell you what I know. Someday the truth will know. I wanna tell you what I'm feeling. I wanna tell you what I know. Someday the truth will flow. Restricted freedoms. They say I've got to be careful with what I say. Their conspiracy of silence. They think the truth will lead you astray. They say that they're here for you, but they never listen to what you say. They've built walls between us. I will walk through walls to break these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains.